The Juneau World Affairs Council, in cooperation with 360 North, presents Hong Kong, where China and global advantages converge, with Subrina Chow. Chow is the director of the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in San Francisco.
Good afternoon. It's really a pleasure to be here in Juneau, Alaska. And I first of all have to thank Jim Clark and the Juneau World Affairs Council for this opportunity to talk to the Juneau community about Hong Kong. And I believe, and I talked to some of you before the presentation, I believe some of you have been to Hong Kong, so you have a general idea about our city. But today I would like to focus more on the economic side, about our economic relations with the United States. But of course, at the Q&A session, we can discuss any other issues of interest that you would like to talk about Hong Kong. First of all, let me give a general introduction on our office. The Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office is actually set up by the Hong Kong government in the United States to foster our economic relations with this country. After all, the United States is the second largest trading partner of Hong Kong. So we give a lot of attention and importance to this country as our trading partner. We have 3 offices in the United States. The one that I work at in San Francisco look after the western half of the country. We have 19 states under our care, and that includes Alaska. And we have another office in New York City that looks after the rest of the country. They have 31 states. And then we have the 3rd office in Washington, D.C. that works a lot more with the federal government and the Congress. And our major role as an economic and trade office is to help promote trade and investment between Hong Kong and the United States. We do that by talking to government organizations, Chamber of Commerce, as well as academic institutions and think tanks about the latest developments in Hong Kong. We would like to introduce any new business opportunities to the business community here so that you know how to take advantage of those new happenings in our part of the world. We also provide free support to any companies in the United States that are looking to set up an office or a presence in Asia. So if you know of any of your friends, or if you yourself are planning to go to Asia to do business, do come to us. We will help you to look at different options in the region and explain to you, why Hong Kong should be one of your top options to base your business in the region. Just a brief overview on our city. We have a population of 7.23 million. And although we only have a land area of about 1,000 square kilometers. So that's, to give you a more reference point, Juneau is about 6 times the size of Hong Kong, with 0.5% of our population. So you can imagine how highly densely populated we are in Hong Kong. So when you go to Hong Kong, this is what you will see: a lot of high rises in our city because we are housing a lot of people within a very small land area. Besides being small in ourselves, we also preserve about 60% of our land as green area, what we call country parks. So we are only building on less than half of our land. We have a labor force of about 3.9 million, and our latest unemployment rate is 3.3%, so more or less full employment in our city. And our GDP growth, this year we forecast it to be about 2.2%. We are a pretty mature economy, so that's not a bad forecast. And currently we have a per capita GDP of about $38,000 US. So we have the consumption power, we have the buying power, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what we are buying from the US as a market. So while Juneau and Hong Kong would seem quite different in terms of the landscape that you will see, here you're surrounded by mountains. We are surrounded by high rises. But there are some similarities between Hong Kong and Juneau too. We are both cities by the sea, So we have access to the ocean, and we are also a very popular tourist destination. And last year in Hong Kong, we received 54 million visitors in a single year. My colleagues like to give the reference as the whole population of Texas coming to Hong Kong 2 times in a year. That's about how many people we received last year. I want to give you a bit of the history of Hong Kong. I believe a lot of you will know that Hong Kong used to be a British colony. We became a British colony back in the mid-19th century. And since then, we have been turned into a trading port. We used to be a small fishing village with a very good harbor, and the British see the opportunity to turn us into a trading port to facilitate their trade with the Far East. And in the early part of the 20th century, China went through quite a lot of turmoils. We went through the First World War, and then the Second World War, and then we have civil war in China in the 1940s. And then eventually the Chinese Communist Party took power in 1949. And after that, quite a number of Chinese people tried to move out of China to other places, and one of the most popular destinations for them is Hong Kong. So during the 1950s to 70s, we actually received a lot of capital, skilled labor, and technology from places like Shanghai, which was a major manufacturing and industrial center on the mainland of China. They are moving their people and their money and their technology down to Hong Kong. And that actually helped Hong Kong to build its own manufacturing industries. And we became sort of the manufacturer factory of the world in the 60s and 70s. So a lot of the products that today you will find with a Made in China label on it, they are actually produced in Hong Kong years ago. But what happened in the 1980s is that the Chinese economy was opened up in the late 1970s and early 1980s. And once that happened, Hong Kong entrepreneurs were very quick to respond to the new opportunities. They see cheaper labor and cheaper land across the boundary. And because Shenzhen, which is the city just next to Hong Kong, was designated a special economic zone by the central government. So they are enjoying a lot of favorable treatment from the central government. So our manufacturers see the opportunity, and they all move their manufacturing facilities over to southern China. So nowadays, well, when you look at a piece of clothing with the Made in China label on it, a lot of time that particular factory that produced that piece of garment will be owned by a Hong Kong entrepreneur, because we were and still is the largest external investor on the mainland of China. So that is also giving us the advantage of having a lot of entrepreneurs who know the Chinese market, know how to do business in China, and have built up a lot of connections. And that's going to be very useful for companies, like American companies who come to Hong Kong. They will easily find a business partner who already know the Chinese market and would be able to help them go into that market without stumbling upon a major problem or pitfalls. So nowadays, because we have moved a lot of our manufacturing activities to southern China, what is left within our territories are services. So today, over 93% of our economy, of our GDP, were actually generated from the services industries. And we are now a major international trade, logistics, finance, and tourism center in Asia. Okay, so we were a British colony, but as many of you know, that in 1997 we became a special administrative region of China, because the British government handed us back to the Chinese government. And by a special administrative region, it means that Hong Kong is ruled or governed under a one country, two systems principle, which makes us a very special part of the country. We enjoy a high degree of autonomy in all matters except foreign affairs and defense. That allows us to keep a lot of our systems that we have inherited from the British intact and separate from the rest of the country. For example, we still maintain our common law system, which is different from the legal system that you will find in the mainland of China. And we also have our independent judiciary, meaning that we have our court of final appeal in Hong Kong. Any civil and criminal cases in Hong Kong will be given the final adjudication in Hong Kong rather than be taken elsewhere for judgment. We also maintain both Chinese and English as our official languages. So when you come to Hong Kong today, it's very easy to get around because all the road signs and all the major notices that you will find around our city will be in both Chinese and English. We also maintain our own currency. We have our Hong Kong dollar, which has been pegged to the US dollars since 1983. And that has given our currency a very useful stability, so we are going to maintain that peg for some time. We also have our own passport, so Hong Kong people have a different passport than people in the rest of the country. And that Hong Kong Special Administrative Region passport gives our people visa-free access to about 150 countries around the world. That actually gives us a much greater mobility around the world, and that's also one advantage that international companies see in Hong Kong, because once they put their base in Hong Kong, their employees who are Hong Kong citizens will be able to travel around the world and around the region to manage their operations elsewhere in the region. Hong Kong is also a separate member of WTO from the mainland of China because Hong Kong is in fact a founding member of WTO. We used to be part of GATT, and when it turned into the World Trade Organization, we are a founding member. And we are also a separate member in the World Customs Organization as well as APEC. So we were able to manage our own economic relations, our trade policies, our monetary policy, separate from the rest of the country. These are just some rankings to help you see where Hong Kong stands internationally. These are, it may be the words may be too small for you to see, so I'm going to give you just a brief briefing on that. On the first column, you are looking at the Economic Freedom Index. That's an index compiled by Heritage Foundation and the Wall Street Journal in the United States, and it has consistently ranked Hong Kong as the freest economy in the world for the past 20 years, 20 consecutive years. So Hong Kong ranked very highly in terms of economic freedom, meaning that we have a free market, we have a very easy to navigate business environment, very low entry barrier into our economy, our market. In relation to that, on the third column in the middle, you're looking at the World Bank index on ease of doing business. Hong Kong was ranked number 3 in the world in terms of ease of doing business. And then if you move back to the second column, it talks about our status as a global financial center. We are ranked just behind New York and London as an international financial center. And then on the fourth column is talking about world competitiveness. In that, we are ranked number 4, just behind United States, Switzerland, and Singapore. The last column is interesting. We rank number 10 in terms of innovation. That's the Global Innovation Index, compiled by Cornell University, INSEAD, and the World IP Organization. But if you look more closely at it, while we are number 10, we're actually world's number 10, we're actually Asia's number 2, if you look closer only at the Asia region. Because all the other 8 in the top 10 are either European countries or the United States. And only Singapore and Hong Kong get into the top 10. So we are the two major innovation center in Asia. So that's just to give you a sense of where Hong Kong stands internationally as an economy. And we believe these rankings are not just academic assessment or calculation. They are borne out by the fact that we do see a lot of international companies coming to Hong Kong to set up their operation in our city. Every year we will do a survey of all the foreign or mainland businesses that are operating in Hong Kong. So this year's survey, we found that we have about around 7,500 companies from overseas or from the mainland of China, which have set up their regional, their office or regional headquarters in Hong Kong. And in terms of FDI meaning foreign direct investment, the United Nations World Investment Report showed that we are number 4 in the world as a recipient of FDI, and at the same time we are number 5 in the world as a contributor of FDI. That simply means that we are very attractive as a place for investment, but at the same time we are also helping to bring a lot of investment to other parts of the world. That has a lot to do with the fact that we are a financial center. It also has a lot to do with the fact that we don't have any foreign exchange control, and money can flow in and out of Hong Kong at ease. So why do people come to Hong Kong? Why do companies come to Hong Kong? We have also asked in our survey those businesses who are located in Hong Kong, asked them why they have chosen Hong Kong as the place to do their business. And there were many reasons that people would give, but I'm only going to look at the first 4 with you this afternoon, because it will take too long if we are going to go over every of the single factor. So the number 1 factor that people often cite is the fact that we have a very simple tax system and very low tax rate. In Hong Kong, we charge profit tax, which is 16.5%. And then if we look at what is equivalent to Social Security here in the US, we ask the employer in Hong Kong to contribute to a mandatory provident fund, and that's about 5% of the salaries of their employee. So that together give us the lowest tax rate that you will find in the Asia region. Besides that, Hong Kong does not charge sales tax. We have no sales tax. We do not tax capital gains. We do not tax estates. We do not tax wine. We do not tax any incomes that are made outside of Hong Kong. So it makes our tax system very easy to understand, and of course a lot of the companies like such a simple system and like the fact that they don't have to pay that much tax in Hong Kong. And then the factor that people often talk about is the fact that information do flow in and out of Hong Kong freely. We have a free flow of information, and I would add to that we have a free flow of people and capital as well. In terms of information, people in Hong Kong do have full access to the internet. So anything that you will find on the internet here in the US, you can find accessing the internet in Hong Kong. We also have a very vibrant media industry. We have 50 daily newspapers that are published in Hong Kong. Both local newspapers and international newspapers that are published for the region out of Hong Kong, like the Wall Street Journal. They have the Asia edition and is published out of Hong Kong. Added to that, our people, as I mentioned, do travel around quite freely. I mentioned that our people have visa-free access to 150 countries in the world. In turn, we give visa-free access to about 170 countries in the world. So if you are US citizens, you hold a US passport, you can come to Hong Kong visa-free and stay in our city for 90 days. So that gives international businesses the flexibility of being able to come to Hong Kong, wherever they want to. And like I said, it also gives the employees in Hong Kong the flexibility of being able to travel around the region at will. I also mentioned that we don't have any foreign exchange control, so money can go in and out of the city quite easily. And then our stock market is the second largest in Asia, just after Japan. So our stock market has been one major institution that has helped companies, particularly nowadays companies from mainland China, to raise capital and be able to access international capital through our stock markets, because our stock market is open to any international investors. So companies that are listed in Hong Kong would be able to access capital from anywhere in the world. Hong Kong have also been one of the top 5 IPO center for the past 10 years. Last year, we are the second in the world in terms of the IPO that we have, the value of the IPO that we have facilitated in Hong Kong. The last point is about offshore renminbi business. Hong Kong is currently the largest offshore renminbi business center. You may or may not be familiar with this. Renminbi is still a currency that is not fully convertible. And because China has foreign exchange control, so renminbi cannot just go in and out of the country easily. You need a permit to bring money out of the country. But since 2004, so about a decade ago, the central Chinese government has allowed Hong Kong to start doing offshore renminbi business. So our banks in Hong Kong were allowed to open renminbi deposit account for just ordinary customers, and businesses could also maintain renminbi account in Hong Kong. And eventually, bonds can also be issued in renminbi. And the latest development is in 2009, the central government has started to allow trade between China and the rest of the world to be settled in renminbi. Because in the past, trade between China and the rest of the world could only be settled in US dollars or euro or other foreign currency. So even if you are trading with China, like if I'm Vietnam and I'm trading with China, I still have to use US dollar to settle my trade with the mainland of China. But since 2009, that has changed, and now a lot more traders are using renminbi to directly settle their trade with the mainland of China. And Hong Kong has been handling about 80% of all these trade settlement in renminbi. This is a very interesting development. A lot of other financial centers are very keen to become part of the game. So London, Singapore, and Taipei has since become other offshore centers. And other European cities like Frankfurt, Paris, they all are very interested in getting into this business. Another reason frequently quoted by businesses is the fact that we are located right at the heart of Asia. So from Hong Kong, within 4 hours, you'll be able to reach almost all of the major cities in the Asia region. And within 5 hours, you will reach half of the world's population. That makes it very easy for businesses to manage their regional operations. So people can literally fly out of Hong Kong in the morning, go to Tokyo, have lunch there, do business meetings in the afternoon, and then fly back to Hong Kong in the evening. They could do the same with Beijing, they can do the same with Singapore, they can even fly further away to Mumbai, India. It's all possible within a day trip, although it will be terribly hectic. But some of our business executives do that. Another advantage of our location is that we are part of a region called the Pearl River Delta region in southern China that usually comprise Hong Kong, Macau, and most part of Guangdong province. And in this region, you will find actually the largest manufacturing center as well as the largest services center in the mainland, in China. So this region is the sort of the growth engine of China and have been that way for the past 10, 20 years since the opening up of the economy. So we are part of this growth region, and we were able to tap into the market there as well as the talents that exist in that region. Last of all the 4 factors that I'm going to talk about this afternoon is the fact that we are a free port. That's also mentioned a lot in the survey of our businesses. I have already told you that Hong Kong has been a free port for many years. We don't charge tariff on almost all of the products that come through our port. We only charge duties on things like tobacco or alcohol, hard liquor sort of things, or petroleum. Those things are the one that we charge duty on. But for any other products, including wine, we don't charge any import duties. And added to that is the fact that we don't charge sales tax. So it has been a great advantage for traders who would like to bring products into Hong Kong and then use Hong Kong to re-export it to the rest of the region, distribute it to different cities in Asia. We also run the world's busiest air cargo hub. Last year, we handled over 4 million tons of air cargo. And I know the port of Anchorage was also a very busy air cargo hub, and we do work together a lot, actually. A lot of the cargo that go out of Hong Kong, if their destination is in North America, most of them will be coming through the Anchorage airport. So we see a lot of opportunity to cooperate more in that respect as well. Of course, the airport doesn't only serve cargo, it also serves passenger. So we have about 100 airlines serving 60 million passengers through Hong Kong last year. And we have a direct flight to 180 destinations, including 44 cities on the mainland of China. So it makes us a very well-connected place. It's really an advantage to be doing business in Hong Kong, and it makes it very easy to travel to other places. Of course, we also run one of the world's largest container ports, which serve 500 ports around the world. And last year, we handled 22.4 million TEUs. And we, again, work a lot with other ports in the region, like ports in Shenzhen, ports in Zhuhai, and other places. Okay, so let's look more closely at home and look at our trade relations with the US. Hong Kong was actually the United States' 9th largest export market in the world. Last year, we imported 42 billion worth of goods from the US. And in return, we only export to you $5 billion US dollars worth of goods. So Hong Kong is one of those few places on earth that the United States actually enjoyed a trade surplus with, and quite a substantial trade surplus. But Hong Kong, in terms of different categories of products, of course, we buy a variety of things from the US, but if we look closer at a particular sector, take for example the agriculture sector, Hong Kong is the 6th largest market for US agricultural exports overall. And if we are to look at the high-value consumer-ready products, food products, we have the 4th largest. We're also the 4th largest market for US wine. We're also the 4th largest market for US beef. So we buy quite a bit from the US. And of course, we buy the seafood from Alaska as well. But of course, we don't consume all that food and wine in Hong Kong, even though we have 7 million people living in Hong Kong, and we receive 54 million visitors each year. That makes it necessary for us to import a lot of food because we don't produce a lot of food in Hong Kong. We almost import everything we need from outside to feed these residents as well as visitors. But the fact is that we are a trading hub, so we export about 30 to 40% of all the US exports that we received to other countries, other economies in the region. If we look at Alaska, I put in California there just to give you a reference or for the purpose of comparison. Hong Kong is actually the 6th largest export destination for California exports. Last year we buy $7.8 billion worth of goods from California. And Alaska, in comparison, is exporting relatively little to Hong Kong, because last year you have only exported 24 million worth of goods to Hong Kong, which is less than 0.1% of the total US exports that we received. And that is also why we see a lot of room for growth. We're hoping that a lot more of the Alaskan exporters will start selling to Hong Kong, and we believe we have the capacity to absorb more exports from here. And what have we been buying from you? Last year, the top 3 categories of exports from Alaska to Hong Kong were transportation equipment, fish, of course, and marine products, and computers and electronics. It's quite interesting. I think that actually reflects more of the major role that the Anchorage port and airport play, because a lot of the probably a lot of the transportation equipment and the computer electronics products were routed through the Anchorage port to Hong Kong, and they were counted as the exports from this state to Hong Kong. But definitely the seafood, I believe, are from Alaska native. Another recent development that has been very interesting is the fact that I told you we received 54 million visitors last year, and 75% of these visitors are from the rest of the country, from mainland China. And the rest are mainly from Asia, other Asian economies, other Southeast Asia and the like. And these people, these visitors, when they come to Hong Kong, one of the major missions that they have is to shop. So they often will bring with them a shopping list, and then they come to Hong Kong and they go to all our retail shops and start buying up a lot of the products. And that is why a lot of the brand names, major brand names around the world have set up their flagship stores in Hong Kong, because Hong Kong has become a show window to Asia. They bring their latest products to Hong Kong to showcase them to visitors who will, of course, hopefully become their customers. I also mentioned we have a lot of international companies in Hong Kong, and some of them do operate their global business out of Hong Kong. One example is the Vice Chairman of GE, Mr. John Rice. He's located in Hong Kong. We also have European companies, Japanese companies, and the like. They all are having either the global operations or regional operations out of Hong Kong. So that shows we are still considered one of the best locations to be for international business. The last one I'd like to mention to you is the fact that we have traditionally been the gateway into China and the rest of Asia, and that's also why all these global operations are coming to Hong Kong. But more recently, we have also seen a lot more mainland enterprises. They have become more mature, and they're starting to look for investment opportunities overseas. They are coming to Hong Kong as well. They're coming to Hong Kong and set up their international base in Hong Kong. Some of them are listed in Hong Kong. About 800 of them are already listed in Hong Kong. So they use Hong Kong stock markets to raise capital, and then at least part of that capital will be taken out of Hong Kong for international investment. Overall, Hong Kong received about 60% of all outbound investment going out of China to the rest of the world. So these money come to Hong Kong first. A lot of times they do not stay in Hong Kong, but they will go out from Hong Kong to other destinations, including the US. And that's why nowadays we become more of a two-way gateway for investment in and out of the region. That is the role that we love and would treasure to play for the years to come. This is the last 2 slides in my presentation. Another interesting development in Hong Kong in the past 3-4 years is the fact that we are seeing a lot more startups coming to Hong Kong. So of course our local entrepreneurs are starting up new companies all the time. But the past 3-4 years, we're also seeing a lot of foreign investors, young entrepreneurs from France, from other European countries, or even from the United States, coming to Hong Kong to use Hong Kong as a place to start up their new business. So in a matter of 4 years, the number of co-work spaces, we call them co-work spaces. It's like spaces where these startup companies rent a desk or a small office and to start up their new enterprises. These sort of co-work spaces have grown from 3 to 30, so a 10-fold increase within 4 years. We're now seeing all these co-work spaces springing up all over the city. And that is one thing that I have also talked to the Alaskan, your State Department of Commerce and Economic Development, is the fact that I understand Juneau and Anchorage and other Alaskan cities are also looking to foster more startup, particularly startup in technology. And if these startups would like to eventually go into the Asia market, Hong Kong will also be a very good place for them to be and start their expansion into Asia. So that's all I have in my presentation. The Hong Kong government actually have 11 offices like our one in San Francisco all around the world. We also have 6 offices in China and Taiwan. So our role is really to help overseas as well as mainland enterprises to make the best use of Hong Kong to develop their business, because that's the thing that we do best and have been doing well throughout the past years. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'll be happy to take any questions you have.
Currently being discussed, as far as the Pacific region is concerned, is the potential of 2 major trade agreements. One that's sort of being pushed by the United States, and the other one is being pushed by China. And especially the one pushed by the United States, I'm interested, let's assume these get ratified. And with that said, how is Hong Kong going to be positioning itself in those types of trade agreements, and where do you see it being of greater benefit to other countries as opposed to other members who are part of these agreements?
Yes, thank you for the question. I believe for the Asia Pacific side, I think one of the major trade agreements in discussion is the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, of which the United States is part of, is actually playing a very active role in leading the negotiation. Hong Kong, for many, many years, because as I mentioned, we are a founding member of World Trade Organizations, so we are a great advocate and great supporter for the multilateral trading system. We believe the World Trade Organization has been doing a great job in terms of setting out the rules for trading around the world. So Hong Kong has always been a supporter of that. And in addition to that, of course, we are keeping a close watch on what other people are doing. And for the past 10 years or so, there have been a lot of regional free trade agreement coming into place, mainly because in the WTO side, there has been a lot of difficult issues that are preventing progress in the negotiation in the WTO front. Hong Kong itself has also tried in our own right to strike up some new free trade agreement with other economies. So we have currently a free trade agreement with New Zealand. We also have a free trade agreement with Chile. We are working on a free trade agreement with the ASEAN region. The ASEAN region is the Southeast Asian nations. So we are working slowly to join this process of building up more regional free trade bloc. So we want to be part of those partnership and agreement. But for the TPP, we haven't joined the negotiation yet. We are keeping a close watch on the development on that side because there are certainly some difficult issues that we understand are being discussed in that forum as well. We haven't quite decided whether to join or not yet, so we're keeping an eye on it to see how it would go going forward. But as I said, we have always been a free port, so we are very keen to support any agreement, be it regional or multilateral, that would facilitate the growth of trade globally. Because being a trading hub, whenever there is an expansion of trade, we stand to benefit because we will definitely get a bigger share, a share of that bigger pie, basically. We see if the pie grow bigger, then Hong Kong would get, even if we maintain the same slice, the slice will grow bigger in a way. So we support any of those agreements that will be coming into play later on.
Oh, thank you very much for your presentation. And I think I have some understanding of how Hong Kong functions as a gateway for Beijing and the larger Chinese economy financially. Could you comment a bit on how Hong Kong operates with Taiwan? As I sort of have the suspicion that there could be another slide that would show Taiwan money moving through Hong Kong into mainland China and perhaps other things moving out. Mm-hmm. So it's basically the question has to do with our relations with Taiwan. And then sort of the second part of that would be the economic cooperation with Taiwan as opposed to the political differences with Beijing.
Thank you for the question. Taiwan is actually a very important trading partner of Hong Kong as well. It's always ranked between third and fourth in terms of our trade relations. So we have been doing business a lot with each other. Of course, our business people are very familiar with their Taiwan counterparts and vice versa. And in the years past, when Taiwan and Beijing, Taipei and Beijing are not enjoying friendly relations, there were a lot of restrictions in terms of trade flow, people flow, and capital flow. So Hong Kong has acted as a middleman in a way. So money will go from Taiwan to Hong Kong and then find their way into the mainland of China. And that's the role we have played for many years. For the past 6-7 years since the Kuomintang, Mr. Ma Ying-jeou became the president, of Taiwan, the relations between Taipei and Beijing has improved. So, so now there are more direct exchanges between Beijing and Taiwan. So our role as the middleman is shrinking in a way. But then we actually welcome this sort of development because just like I was saying, as the mainland Taiwan trade grow bigger and become more the relations become more healthy, Hong Kong actually has a greater role to play as a services center. We still provide a lot of financial services and other business professional services to business people both in Taiwan and the mainland. And we were actually able to set up our own, we have a Hong Kong Economic Trade and Cultural Office in Taipei. And that was set up back in 2011. So you see that on the map too. And before that, we weren't able to set up that sort of a official presence in Taiwan. But now we could, and it's actually allowing us more freedom and flexibility in terms of our relations with Taiwan. So we would hope that this good relations between Beijing and Taipei will continue because that's good for the entire country and good for Hong Kong.
You've been meeting with Alaska officials as part of your visit here. Mm-hmm. What advice do you have for us in Alaska in increasing trade with Hong Kong?
Yes, I've been meeting a lot of both state government officials as well as Chamber of Commerce people. So we discussed the possibility of increasing trade between Hong Kong and Alaska. As I mentioned, I suspect our trade is, the trade figures that we see are not exactly reflecting the sort of trade that has been going on between Hong Kong and Alaska. Say, for example, Hong Kong imported seafood from Alaska, but of course Alaska export a lot of the seafood to China, to mainland China for processing. And I suspect we may also get some of that, our seafood, Alaskan seafood, from China, because after they've been processing, there's no reason for them to come back to the United States and then re-export to Hong Kong again. So I suspect some of our traders will have bought Alaskan seafood that have been processed in China into Hong Kong, but that would be counted as an export from China to Hong Kong, rather than an export from Alaska to Hong Kong because of all the way that trade figures are compiled. I also mentioned to some of the trade officials here about the fact that in Hong Kong, we also buy a lot of precious metal, like gold and silver, from the United States. We actually imported a lot of gold from Utah. Last year, we were the world's largest market for U.S. gold bullions in the world. We are a bigger market than Switzerland. Because we, of course, have a very good, vibrant jewelry industry in Hong Kong, and we imported all this precious metal into Hong Kong, and we turn them into products, and then we sell it back to the United States. Actually, one of the largest exports that we sell to the United States are jewelries. But I suspect, again, even if we would have imported Alaskan gold, it would not have shown in the trade figures because Hong Kong would not import unprocessed gold ore from Alaska because we have no facilities in Hong Kong to smelt those gold. We'll have to import it from another states or another countries that have those smelting facilities. But then we feel for Alaskan companies, we would like to help them better understand it's not that difficult to start exporting to Asia. There are a lot of opportunities in Asia because we do have a growing middle class that would enjoy a lot of the very high-end seafood that you produce, or even your pure glacier water that you bottled and sell overseas, a lot of organic products that you produced, because definitely the middle class in Hong Kong, China, and Asia, they're becoming more health conscious. They would be looking for better quality food products and other related health products from the United States. So there are definitely opportunities in our market. And we would like to help Alaskan companies to understand how they could work with Hong Kong partners to start exploring that market. And that is what I have been discussing with the state government colleagues here, as well as the chambers, that we would be very happy to help these enterprises from Alaska. If there are any of those exporters that are interested, we will be very happy to talk directly with them and help link them up with potential partners in Hong Kong.
Thank you for coming. Earlier this fall, we were seeing in the news almost daily about the demonstrations in Hong Kong, and I haven't seen anything for a while. Can you speak to that, what the demonstrators were asking for and how it's been resolved?
Thank you for the question. Actually, just yesterday, or today in Hong Kong, actually Thursday in Hong Kong, so, so earlier today, we have cleared the major occupation site, what we call occupation site in Hong Kong. So since the end of September, you will have seen on the TV news or read from the newspaper that there are protesters who have blocked and occupied our major roads in Hong Kong in 3 different locations. And just Thursday in Hong Kong, finally, one of the major sites has been cleared. And another major site on Kowloon side has also been cleared earlier in the month. So the protest is slowly dissipating. But of course, the major issues that they are protesting about will have to be resolved. We're not saying, oh, finally these protesters are off the road and, oh, it's all good, and then we don't have to work anymore. And to give you some background, the major subject of debate between the government and these protesters are about the political system and how we are going to further develop the political system in Hong Kong. Because Hong Kong is one of 2 places in China, because we are one of 2 special administrative regions. The other one is Macau. We were one of 2 places in China that were able to elect our own head of government. Our head of government is called the chief executive in Hong Kong. And in the basic law, which is our mini constitution that set out how Hong Kong is to be governed under 1 country, 2 systems, in that basic law, it has stated that when Hong Kong was first returned to China, the chief executive would have to be elected through an election committee, which used to be an 800-member organization. Now it's a 1,200 members organization. But we are now moving further forward, and we have got the agreement of the Beijing government back in 2007 that by 2017, so 3 years from now, we would have what we call universal suffrage, meaning that the 5 million eligible voters in Hong Kong, once they are registered, they should have a vote in the election of our next chief executive. But we have been debating a lot about how we are going to do that. How are we going to change our election system to achieve that? And one of the key point of contention has been, how are we going to nominate the candidates who will stand for this election? And in our mini constitution, the basic law, it has stated that when we have universal suffrage, the candidates will have to be nominated by a broadly representative nominating committee. But the protesters are saying, no, that's not what we want. We want civic nomination, and that is to have the voter themselves to be able to suggest some people to be standing for the election. But we have been explaining to the protesters that that is not possible because our Constitution, our basic law has already stated that there will be a nominating committee. So this is the major issues that we have been debating, and we would need to further discuss that in order to work within the framework of the basic law, and yet to be able to make sure that the population would be able to participate in the nominating process. So that would be a major issues that we'll be discussing in the days to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Subrina Chow discussing Hong Kong's position in global trade in this Juneau World Affairs Council presentation, produced in collaboration with 360 North. It was recorded on December 11, 2014 at 360 in Juneau, with support from GCI, Alaska Electric Light and Power Company, Wastman & Associates Incorporated, Coeur Alaska Incorporated, Hecla Greens Creek Mining Company, Sea Alaska, and Alaska Power and Telephone.